Hello, in case you haven't heard, Hasbro just announced the very first expansions for Monopoly, and I've got some things to say. Now, before we get into my thoughts on these three expansions, I want to go over a brief history of Monopoly. Feel free to use the timestamps if you want to skip ahead. Now, the topic of Monopoly intrigues me, not only because it is a highly popular board game, but as someone with an economics degree, just this kind of thing intrigues me. And a lot of people don't know that Monopoly is actually a critique of capitalism as a system, which is just ridiculous to think because it's such a popular money-making board game. And the fact that it was initially created to critique capitalism is interesting. Now, again, this is not a political channel, but this game is literally about money and economics. And again, as an economic major, this interests me. The whole history of Monopoly is probably the subject of another video, but the long story short is that it was designed in 1903 as the landlord's game. And the creator was Lizzie Magie. The game was eventually stolen by some man and then taken by Hasbro and published in 1935. Fortunately, later on, Lizzie Magie did receive compensation for it and the rights and credit that she deserved. Now, when the game was initially created, it had two sets of rules. The first was the prosperity rule set, where all players would kind of start with a different amount of money, and the goal of the game was for everyone to double their money. So the phrase, "a rising tide lifts all boats," was applicable here. The second set of rules was the monopoly rules, and this is where you continued playing until one person had all the wealth. And this is the game as we know today. But again, these rules were not created to be an entertaining game. This game was created to show how if capitalism is left unchecked, all of the wealth ends up in the hands of very few people. So I'm not trying to bring politics into it. The game literally did that already. So now that we have that kind of as a background, let's go into my thoughts on these three Monopoly expansions. First up, we have free parking. This one is interesting because the back of the box claims that it makes for a faster game. But, as you may know, if you play with the free parking house rule, it actually makes the game longer. Because, again, the Monopoly rules, the point is to drain all the money out of the system. And so what the free parking house rule does is essentially keep money in circulation, which artificially extends the game. So I'm not sure if there's going to be additional rules in this expansion that mitigate that, but it essentially seems to add a lottery to Monopoly, which again just speaks to the society that we live in, where people who don't have a lot of money just hope and pray that they win the lottery, and so they can have a chance of winning the game. So I'm not so sure about this one. It seems like it will just artificially extend the game, but who knows. Next up, we have Go to Jail. So this one, from my understanding, just adds a larger super jail thing, and then that's not great. If you happen to live in the United States, you know that we throw a lot of people in jail. More than pretty much any other country. So let's put that in a board game for kids. Yay! Yeah, I don't have any good things to say about this. Just if you really want to know the problems with this, just go to a website called Incarceration in Real Numbers, and that'll get you up to speed. The third and final expansion is the Buy Everything expansion, where you can literally buy anything. At least that's what it says. So it adds title deeds for additional spaces, like you can own luxury tax. I guess, does that mean you become the IRS? Is that how that works? Anyway, this one does actually seem the most promising because it claims to add things that allow you to win in different ways. So additional win conditions sounds like a win to me. No pun intended, I guess. But again, the concept is still, buy everything. and then you win the game, sort of thing. There's no cooperative expansion, at least not in this first group of 3, which is interesting considering, again, the original prosperity rules were cooperative in a sense. But it's just so interesting to me that this game, designed to critique capitalism, is basically the epitome of success and capitalism. Just very, very ironic, you know? And what a better day to publish this than the day of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So, to end with a quote from him, this country has socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. I'll leave you at that. Take care.